Well, thank you for being here tonight. Welcome to the HDA. I'm Katie Nartonis. I have the great pleasure and honor of being the gallery director here. We're a nonprofit-oriented, membership-based artistic group, and we are in the process of turning this into a full-fledged art center. And how we're doing that is we're allowing wonderful people from the community like Catherine Auman to come and be a part of our lecture series here. Catherine Auman is a licensed marriage and family therapist, teacher, author, artist, and an explorer of spiritual reality. She's written 12 books, which were award-winning, and has over 30 years of experience in the field of mental health. And as such, she has helped thousands of clients. Auman's approach to therapy is holistic, addressing physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and relationship issues. She combines mainstream psychotherapy with alternative ways of knowing and healing, including psychedelics and tantric practices. She's currently enrolled in the Transpersonal Psychology Doctoral Program at the California Institute of Integral Studies. So not too long from now, we'll be able to call her Dr. Catherine Auman. Catherine,
if I finish my dissertation.
Now you have to because it's on film. Catherine grew up in Seattle, Washington, and discovered books and mythology early on, which fueled her imagination. After college, she moved to Southern California, settling in Venice Beach during the 1970s. It was there that she co-founded the Art Tarts, a female performance art group that challenged perceptions of womanhood, spoke out against violence, and encouraged personal expression. She and her husband Greg are high desert locals and are member supporters of the HDA. In 2025, her books were included in the HDA exhibition Over the Line, curated by Janice Tatel. The show explored censorship in art and other forms of creativity. I give you Catherine Auman.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.
So I had a question to start with, and I don't know if it'll be a good jumping off point, but we can turn different directions if you'd like. What would you define as the through line to your intellectual and spiritual pursuits?
I would say search for what wakes us up, what breaks our cultural trance, how do we challenge the mainstream consensus reality and find out what's really true. So I've always been on the search for that, to wake myself up and to help other people who are having similar questions.
I love that you call it a cultural trance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. Really interesting. So I think, should we scroll to the first slide?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I wanted to start with this because this is my favorite picture of myself. And I think it is indicative of my entire career because I'm standing there. I think I look so beautiful and elegant. And I'm the yellow rose of Texas. And I'm completely unaware that I'm doing the pose all wrong. So I moved to Seattle, from Seattle, and it's hard for people to get now, but Seattle, before everything happened to make it seem a super hip place, was kind of nowhereville. Am I right, Phil? And Phil was the coolest thing happening in Seattle at the time because he had a boutique called Dreamland and had a great band. But for the rest of us, it sort of seemed like Seattle was Omaha. I don't want to pick on Omaha, but it was kind of the jumping off point for Alaska, was all Seattle was. So we felt like if we were going to ever have an interesting life, we had to go to New York or LA. And my plan was to go to New York. But I ended up in Venice Beach. We were minor bar stars there. There were 3 of us that moved down here. And it was the kind of bar there in Seattle where people were doing cocaine right on the tabletops out in the open. And I had a degree in English literature and I had studied art history. So the 3 of us moved down here. One went off to Cal Arts and the other gal and I were living right on the boardwalk. And So this time, just to set the cultural time right then, it was the end of disco, the beginnings of punk rock, Patti Smith. We were studying the occult and mysticism. There was a real sense of, because of the punk culture and because I was a New Yorkophile, I was studying what the artists were doing in New York. And there was a real sense of DIY. I know a lot of people think that that started in the 90s, but there was a real sense with the punk thing of, we can do it ourselves. We're just gonna do it ourselves. We're gonna just make Xerox art, we're just gonna do postcard art, we're just gonna do whatever we wanna do. And that really informed a lot of our work. And then we found this magazine, High Performance Magazine, and I used to have a collection and I had to go on eBay and buy one for $50. Does anybody else do that? You have to go read what you used to have. And this magazine was, they're actually in LA right now, the Getty Center and the Performance Art Museum are having a whole retrospective on this magazine because it was so important documentation of what was going on at the time. And we were so turned on by this idea of performance art because you didn't have to get into the galleries. It was take the art to the streets. A lot of it was happening in galleries, but there was this idea of we don't have to get anybody's permission. We don't have to have any gatekeepers. A lot of the women were doing work on the body and sexuality, which had not been welcomed before, as you know, unless men were viewing women's bodies. It was really against the market-driven male ethos of the gallery system. And it was the whole idea of making art more democratic. Everybody's an artist, let's see what you have to say. And so it was that bringing it, and then everyday life can be infused with creativity. And this whole idea of the collaboration was bringing a counterpoint to the male myth of the individual genius.
Say that one more time.
It's a big sentence, it's better written than it is saying. The principle of collaboration, the whole idea of collaborating on art pieces offered a counterpoint to the male myth of the individual genius.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
And that women also brought to this whole area of performance autobiography, that narrative is important, that our lives are important, and this was really a big turn on at the time, the meaning and importance of personal experience. So,
did you start doing this performance work with the girls that you came down from Seattle
with one of them, and then another one was in our building.
Okay.
So we had this whole building. The other one went off to Cal Arts, and that's a whole nother story. So I'm working on a memoir on this right now because I think it's a really important time. And you can see this other book, there's starting to be some scholarship about that this decade actually was very important in women's performance art in America.
Fantastic.
So our performance start, we had done a few costumey type things, like we were always trying to get beer money. So we would dress up as cigarette girls and buy some gardenias for $1 a piece and go sell them for $2 on the boardwalk and then drink that night or whatever. So we had these little performance type things we were doing, but then one of us got mugged. And she was thrown down. She was on her way to work, totally innocent, and a guy threw her down and could have easily taken her purse and run off with it, but that's not what he wanted. He wanted to beat the crap out of her. And he did, and then finally at the last minute took her purse. And so this was just so, two or 3 weeks later, hi you guys, she was still in pain from it. So we got together as the art tarts and we're like, what are we gonna do about this? Because just going to the cops, nothing happens. You know, they'll just say, oh well. So we decided to make a performance, and we dressed up. And one woman, we dressed up as warriors. We went to the Army surplus store.
This is you, right?
That's me.
Yeah.
This one's me.
And this one's you. Yeah.
And the one woman in the middle there, Georgelle. Her, if she was a boy, they were going to call her George. If she was a girl, they were going to call her Ella. So she's Georgelle. And she was a writer. She already had published a book, so she was working as the reporter. Because the big thing about performance is the documentation of it. So I just have a whole box of photographs. So the documenting, so she has her little cassette recorder there, and she is interviewing people as we interact with people on the boardwalk. What do you think about this? What are we supposed to do about this? Are you aware this is happening? And so she is transcribed, and then later on she transcribed all the talks about what people were saying.
So she's recording it here on that
Yeah,
tape
that
recorder?
little cassette player there.
Cool.
So we're confronting the passersby with questions about power, gender, and culture. Feminism not as theory, but as embodied interruption. So, you know, Venice Beach is kind of weird all the time. This was even weirder. You know, to have these people come up and ask you, what do you think about this situation?
Now, by the time I had moved to LA, Venice had turned around. Was it still a violent place was it just starting to get sketchy, or did it have a reputation?
It was sketchy then. There
Yeah.
was, oops, I went too far.
Can you make it lighter?
Oh, we can try to turn the lights off. Would that help?
It's very dark.
Let me do that. Or Janice, you got it?
Thank you. People don't know this, but there was a ghetto in Venice. There was from Main Street back to Lincoln, from Rose to, I'm not sure what on the south side, but there was an area, this is so rude, it was called Ghost Town, and it was all black people living in this area. And you weren't supposed to go into that area. Taxi drivers wouldn't go in there at night. On the other hand, they got this great property by the beach, but it was, it was just considered very dangerous and scary. I just used to roller skate in there all the time. I didn't think it was scary, but then when you're 20, you're just crazy anyway. But there was a lot of, it hadn't started gentrifying at all yet.
Interesting time to be
It was
there.
a very interesting time. So here we are talking with people, confronting them. What do you think? I wish I could say everyone was like, yay, but there was a lot of blaming of us, a lot of blaming of the victim. There was a lot of, well, you shouldn't be out walking at 7 in the morning on your way to work. There were also people, so, you know, it was just great to get out and do something about it.
Was one of the gals who was mugged, is she here? Was it
It's
her?
this gal right here.
Was she okay?
She was okay. She was in pain for 2 weeks. With every performance, we also had handouts. So each of us would make a handout that we would just give to everyone. And this was, so you see how primitive it was back then. We didn't have word processors, or we had cut pictures out of magazines and taped them to the pages and had to handwrite, or one of us had a typewriter. And there was no Xerox machine in Venice. I had to walk all the way over to Santa Monica. We didn't have a car. And I like walking, thank goodness, but it was an hour each way to make Xeroxes. So this says, forceful, fierce, disciplined guerrilla artists take action against violence. Safe in a fortress only found within, we take hold of our newborn strength and go into the world hoping to heal. Expanding ever outward, we form a network stronger than a mere act of hatred could destroy. Art forces open the doors of the gallery and marches into the streets. It invades your life, art takes action. Copyright 1980, Art Tarts.
And there's the Mesopotamian goddess
Holding
with the snakes. Beautiful. And then this is a woman holding a gun, it looks like.
No, that's one of those martial artists with the sticks.
Got it. Yeah.
So we ended up doing 6 performances. I'm going to share 3 with you. This one we did, I thought I changed the slide. It was actually called Behind the Mask of Mom, Who Is She? And this was on Mother's Day. So I'm really kind of embarrassed to let you know we stole this shopping cart. We painted it white, and then we put all kinds of things, of symbols of motherhood in there. So we have like, this is a ceramic fruit tart, and we have pictures of the candles of the Virgin Mary going there, and some flowers, and pictures of our mothers in their poodle skirts, or like clothespin here, and we have some eggs, and just all kinds of things. And then Joelle and I are kind of dressed like clown mothers, I guess, and I'm holding this baby doll. And Georgelle, of course, had a mother who was a grade B movie star who was actually mean, so that's how she's dressed. And again, we went out to talk to people, and there we are with our cart. So people would come up, there's a colander here and some handy wipes, and we just interact with people about, and there's our handouts. We each wrote a little thing about our mothers and how we really couldn't, behind the mask of mom, who is she? We couldn't really ever access the real person there, because there's the myth of mom is right in front of it, and all these symbols and this thing that she's supposed to be. And at this point, only Georgelle was a mother, and she wasn't very successful at it. So we were interacting with people on the boardwalk. What about your mom? We heard some great stories. We heard some not so great. What does that role do to women? How is it wonderful? How is it not constricting, and so on?
Was that with a cassette tape too?
This one, I don't think she taped this one. Yeah, I think she was more just being the tough mother.
And you're a generation that's coming out of the 1950s, and that kind of iconic mother that, obviously must have been something that all of you had to kind of confront.
Yeah.
Was this construct of motherhood.
Yeah, my mom worked full time, came home, like so many mothers, came home, then did all the cooking and all the cleaning and all the childcare. And I knew I didn't want that. So we were kind of exploring what that was about with the people. And again, here's more of the handouts for the different things. So the third one I'm going to share with you is called The Scarlet Woman, and this is the handout for that. And so we were exploring the occult, and we were, one of the things that people in their 20s do is we were looking into Aleister Crowley, and Crowley said that in the new day, the Scarlet Woman was how women were going to be. So, this was transmitted to him from an angel, and it was called the Book of the Law. And he said, "The Scarlet Woman serves but one Lord, the Lord of the universe. Let her be covered with jewels and rich garments, and let her be shameless before all men. Then I will lift her to power. I will fill her with joy, with my force. I will give her one irresistible weapon, the expression of herself and her will through sex." So she's a very sexually powerful woman, kind of striding around taking what she wants. When I look at young women today, I think Crowley might have been right.
Yeah.
Because women today seem to be really much more in their sex, much more open about it, much more assertive, dressing however they please. That would be an observation I have. So we just set out to be these scarlet women on the boardwalk. I think a lot of the men had a lot of fun with that. You can see where her hand is.
Yeah.
It's right on his crotch. And we were just interacting, trying to be this persona of what would it be like if women were like this. We want to be able, because we were also feminists and really believed this thing. We weren't really sure about putting into practice in our lives. It didn't really seem to work, but we were trying.
Did it feel like it was about personal freedom?
Felt like it was personal freedom, personal power, feminine power, being able to not just wait to be chosen.
Right.
You're supposed to sit here on your little toadstool while if you're pretty enough, the man will choose you. So you can be waiting forever. So, I mean, I love this picture.
It's a great shot.
So, I'm writing a memoir on this now, so hopefully you guys I'll be able to share that with you someday.
Are we going to transition into Tantra?
Did you want to say anything more
Yes,
about
I do.
this?
I just first of all, I don't know if you guys have read my first book, California Desert Artist Volume 1, but I write about the performance art and how important women were to the beginning of that movement. And there is a large number of women who are really important and influential, and I'm just thrilled that we have someone here who's part of our little tribe here who's a part of that wave of women. And I just think it's fantastic.
Thank you. It's really an exciting time.
And when we started talking, I picked up her wonderful book, and I said, I want you to come and speak. And then she said, oh, by the way, I was a performance artist in the 70s. I'm like, yes. So I just think it's wonderful. Are there any questions about this portion of the talk before we proceed? Okay, great.
So that early work in cultural disruption evolved into a lifelong exploration, awakening, and transformation. So another thing that happened to me when I was in Venice is I was in the Small World bookstore there, which is, yay, still alive. And I saw a book on the counter. It said, Sex is Spiritual, and I went, it's one of those defining moments. I was just like, yes, that's what it is for me. Of course, I'd grown up hearing the opposite. And that was a cultural disruption of, that's how it's always been for me. It's always been a spiritual experience. That's something that they're not talking about. I want to know more about that. So there wasn't a lot of information back then, but I started reading and finding out, searching out people who knew about Tantra, and found out that Tantra isn't, it has a reputation of being about having sex in wild postures, and everyone's polyamorous and so on. Not necessarily at all. I found out that it's really the worldview that all is sacred, which is very disruptive in this culture where some things are sacred and some things are not. So you have sacred and sinful, and you have right and wrong, and you have, and most of the fun things are sinful, right? So I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. This is a worldview that all is sacred, all is divine, everything's happening at the right time. And it's kind of hard to move as a person into that worldview or to try to embrace it. It was very fascinating to me, so I set off to learn about that. And I actually ended up living in a Tantra ashram in India for a year. And when I came back, I was single. I was looking for Greg. I didn't know it yet, but I was very confused because at the Tantra ashram, people met each other in a very friendly way. And I came back here to the dating culture, and it was the opposite of friendly. It was like extremely judgmental, and you're becoming more judgmental the more you date, and you're narrowing your focus of who you're looking for, and you're being very rude to people that in a way you would never be rude. Oh, I don't want to go out with him again because I don't like his shoes. Can you believe he's wearing those shoes? It's like, I found myself kind of acting like that, and I was like, this is not great at all. So I put together what I kind of learned at the Tantra ashram about meeting when you're single. And I wrote this little book, Tantric Dating. And I was trying to use everyone I'm meeting must be the right person. Maybe not to become my partner, but they're still the right person at this time. And I was trying to use it as a kind of a spiritual practice. So I wrote this book, and I thought, this book's just a throwaway. I'm not even very proud of it. And I was doing some workshops on this tantric dating. And my girlfriend from Seattle called me up and said, did you know that your book is on the list of 100 best dating books of all time? I said, what? And then I looked it up, and there it was. So this book has been a bestseller and continued to be a bestseller. And more importantly, people have let me know some really great relationships have come out of it. And I just feel good about that.
That's wonderful. What a wonderful surprise.
What a shock.
Yeah, throw something into the universe and then have it be celebrated.
And then my husband read it and still wanted to date me, so then
You say it's only an ebook first. You weren't even going to make a physical
I
book.
wasn't even gonna make a physical book. I didn't really believe in it. I thought I'll just have this ebook in case anybody wants it. So then that was the pandemic, and I had to keep busy. So I noticed that people like to consume content in series, right? Like Harry Potter or The Crown or Downton Abbey or whatever. You see, I put myself in very good company there. And so I decided I would write these little books about Tantra and they would sell each other. And I've written 4 of them and the 5th is about to come out. And they are all bestsellers. They're all very short. They're like 100 pages. You can read them in the afternoon. And they seem to be helpful to people. That's very exciting.
And folks discovered them during COVID because they had time and energy, perhaps.
I think so, yeah.
To explore, yeah.
Yeah.
And these are all available on Amazon if
Yes.
someone's interested in finding these for themselves.
So my other Tantra titles, I wrote a novel, and I just want everybody to know that novel took me 20 years. So if you have something in a drawer somewhere, it's worth finishing. And then these other books. So as Katie said, when Janice had this show, I said maybe this story would be interesting because these books were banned on Amazon. And they're really not about sex at all, they're about love. And I told them these books are about love, and they were very upset about the covers. And this is the cover that was banned. It looks like 2 cartoon figures. And this cover was banned because Amazon has a rule against kissing on the neck.
That's random.
So not only were these books banned, but they shut down my account and said I could never sell books on Amazon again, which for an author is death because 70% of all books are sold on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I was just freaked out, panicked, and Greg found a lawyer, and we had to send a lawyer in to get my account back. But can you believe that? And I had paid these artists to create these covers, and so anyway.
And why the neck? Why is the neck?
It's too passionate, apparently.
I personally think it's because they're so gender fluid, but that's not what they told us.
No, it's because Bezos is a vampire.
There's that too, yeah.
He wants all the neck.
Yes, he wants all the
Well, once you
necks.
get to the neck, who knows what's going to happen.
Anything else about the Tantra work?
Any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Yes, Karen.
Is the tantric sex book?
What?
I didn't see the tantric sex book.
There's nothing that's called tantric sex, but tantric love is more about sexuality. Tantric loving, yeah.
You wanna go
Is there a relationship between the Tantric and the Kama Sutra?
Not really. The Kama Sutra is more like a practical manual for becoming a better lover,
Yeah.
and it kind of stands on its own separately. Tantric people might consult that, but it's not part of the same tradition.
And if I understand correctly, there's a ritualistic part of Tantra. I don't know much about it. But
There was an original Tantra, like back in the 600s and 800s, and that was basically monks using their sexual energy to try to become more spiritual.
Mm.
Modern Tantra is more about people trying to connect more deeply and more intimately.
Gotcha.
So it's really kind of changed through the ages to be something that's much more about love versus just trying to use the energy as a rocket to get enlightened.
So in a way, it's moving from outside to inside.
That's a good way of putting it.
Wonderful.
It's also comes from the original goddess culture, and when the patriarchy got a hold of it, they tried to just use women for their own enlightenment, and now it's coming full circle back into being more about men and women, men and men, women and women, but it's more about the equality of the people. So this one, Karin? tantric loving.
Okay. I don't know whose alarm is going off there, but your fascinating book, Guide to Spiritual LA, is available here in our HDA bookstore. So for all of you, I have been really enjoying this. It's a fantastic kind of survey of all of the different religions and thought customs and where you can find them. It's a wonderful book to kind of go to LA for a day and check out as many as you can. And how did this book project come about? Can you share some of the highlights and how that started for you?
Sure, thank you. This book is, well, first of all, I had heard there were a couple of interesting spiritual things that happened in LA, so I went to Google them, and then I started Googling more, and it was more and more fascinating things. And then I started going out with some friends, and I would show them, they'd go, "How do you know all this stuff?" I go, "I'm just really interested in it. You should write that down." So I went on a tour with Maja Daoust, the White Witch of Los Angeles. Does anybody know her? She she was doing this tour, and I asked her if she wanted to write this book with me, and she said no. So I thought, well, now I'm stuck. And I started documenting, and I had once had a book on, I grew up in Seattle, it's very close to Vancouver, and I once had this guidebook to Vancouver that had great pictures, and it had where to go, and I thought, I'm going to do it like a guidebook, so people can drive around just like I did and look at stuff. And this book, so I took all the photos, and I had to take them 3 times because I used the wrong camera, whatever. This won 2 awards. It won the 2020 Nautilus Award and the National Indie Award. And I'm really proud to say this book, in addition to being here at this gallery, is at the Getty Center bookstore. It's
Pretty great.
quite a neat thing. So I documented a lot of these subcultures, and a lot of these are, I have a section on the traditional religions, but almost all of these people are eccentrics, outliers. Some are way outliers. So just a few greatest hits. Believe it or not, Pentecostalism started in Los Angeles. Wouldn't you think that would be in the Deep South? So this little house downtown, this preacher had come out from the Midwest. His name was, I don't remember right now. He was black, he had just one eye. That's not really important to the story, but it's interesting. And he was preaching, and there were 6 people in the house, and one guy got up and started speaking in tongues, just pouring out. And then everybody started pouring out. This Shakti energy was just pouring out. And it was so strong that in the next 3 days, the streets were full of people just hallelujah and feeling the energy and dancing and singing. And it was so ecstatic that they were dancing on the porch, and the porch fell off the house. And so the whole movement moved to Azusa Street, but this house is still there, and you can take a tour, or I've been there 3 or 4 times, and every single time a neighbor has come up and just told us all about it. So it's just this fantastic little shrine, basically, to this outpouring of some kind of energy that can't be explained by science.
You know, I thought speaking in tongues was older.
It might be.
It just was a renewal of that kind of
it was just,
expression.
Yeah, that it just,
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have Amy Semple McPherson, who is a very charismatic, interesting figure. She was the first televangelist. She used to speak to thousands of people a day here in this temple down that's by Echo Park. And she would put on these elaborate stage shows where she's being chased around by the devil with a pitchfork, and she, oh no! And then she faked her own death. She walked in, she said, she just walked into the water in Venice Beach and just kept on walking. And then she was found later in Mexico with her lover. And they had this, she reported it on her own news media that she had disappeared, so she's a great character. And they have a little, next to the temple, it's only open like 2 hours a week or something, but there's a little museum for Amy, and you can see like her dresses and some of her marketing materials and stuff. She's just very
I
fascinating.
understand from your book that she would have 5 church things a day.
5 services a day,
5
like with
services a
1,000
day.
people each. She was so charismatic. She came out to LA like in a car with $200 or something like this. She became this multimillionaire. And then Aldous was here. I don't know if you know the Vedanta Temple. It's in the Hollywood Hills. And Aldous Huxley, that's where he used to go. And assorted all of his hipster friends, Gerald Hurd and Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary didn't really go there, but a lot of these famous intellectuals at the time would go there. Certain people have gotten enlightened there. I find the energy really overpoweringly. I mean, the first time I went there, I just went into meditation, and then I looked at my watch, and I'd been sitting there for 2.5 hours. I just lost all track of time. It's just an amazing place. And Aldous Huxley had written The Perennial Philosophy, which is one of his more popular books, which says that the basis of all religions is the same. If you dig down far enough, they're all the same, which has pretty much been proven not to be true, but it's still beautiful, unifying kind of idea. And then part of doing this book was coming out here, and I had no idea we were going to be living here. And so I came out here because I'd heard about the Integratron. I wanted to see it, and then I heard about some other places. And one way that I knew Greg and I were maybe going to end up together was I said, do you want to go on a date and go take some pictures with me? And he said, sure. So not every guy would do that. So we came out here and found Giant Rock. So you guys all know Giant Rock, I'm sure. World's largest freestanding boulder, sacred to Native Americans, split as a sign of the millennium.
Was it just happened?
It had been prophesied
Oh my goodness.
that it would break at the end of the world.
Wow. Interesting.
So hopefully that was the end of the old world and not the end completely, but we don't know yet, do we?
Give us a couple years. We might find out.
And then the Interplanetary Airport and the Come On In, George Van Tassel. I'm just going to go over this really fast. I'm assuming you know all this stuff. The yearly conventions attracted up to 11,000 attendees. Wrote several books. We have an expert actually in the house on George Van Tassel. The Integratron was originally a longevity machine. The design of it was given to George Van Tassel by extraterrestrials, he says.
Venusians.
Venusians. Financed by Howard Hughes, and the Carl sisters bought it.
Did you guys know that the plywood in the Integratron is from the Spruce Goose when he worked
Same wood.
with Howard Hughes,
I did
right?
not know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then how many of you guys know about Desert Christ Park?
And we take people there.
I love
This
we
is
take
such
people
a
there.
treasure.
Yeah.
It's an amazing spectacle.
Such a treasure. So this guy named Anton Martin was living in Inglewood, and he built this 3-ton statue of Jesus and had it in his driveway. And so he was planning to put it at the mouth of the Grand Canyon, and he was denied a permit.
Aww.
So he moved it out here to Yucca Valley, and we love this place. It's just these beautiful. It's just so heartwarming that this guy would spend his life making these beautiful spiritual statues, and some of the faces are very soft and warm, and it's just wonderful. I liked it better when it was falling apart more, and now they're putting it to,
Yeah,
they're
cleaned it up.
cleaning it up and
Yeah.
repairing it, but
Yeah.
anyway.
There's also a saber-toothed tiger at that fork in the road off the 62, and Tom Martin did that.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Down in Desert Hot Springs, there was Cabot Zersa and his wife Portia Graham. She never gets mentioned, but I don't know why not. He was a highly degreed Mason, and they founded the Desert Hot Springs Theosophical Society, and they held meetings in their home. So they were a real spiritual center there. and they were an activist for Native American rights.
Has everybody been to Cabot Yerkes out yet?
That big.
Oh, it's so well worth it.
Really
It's
good.
fantastic.
That's what we heard.
Yeah, it's very special.
So they don't mention much in the tours there that they had this secret spiritual life, but now you know.
I was surprised to see that. That's interesting.
And then we all know about JTRC, and Edward Dingle had studied in Tibet and created mental physics. They have 18 vortexes on the property. And then most of us know about the rock stars that came out here. You know, we all know this, but young people are surprised to find out that, not that we're not young, but young people are surprised to find out that psychedelics were used as spiritual search back then. And so a lot of them, there's this great little YouTube video you can see. I recommend it in the book where Donovan is talking about the spiritual cosmic portals out here in Joshua Tree. And he seems kind of stoned when he's talking about it. It's great. The Rolling Stones were here, Anita Pallenberg, Graham Parsons, U2 of course, Jim Morrison, John Lennon, Ted Markland, and Timothy Leary all came out here.
Donovan's house is off of Buena Vista
Oh my gosh.
on the Mesa.
You know which one it is?
It's called the Rock House. And if you drive by it, and it was for sale for a brief moment, and so we got to go inside of it. Oh, it was so cool. It's really beautiful. They use all this native rock that used to be quarried here. Ed might know the name of it. It's that yellow rock. It's this really interesting rock. You see it around town, but they don't quarry it anymore. But it was just, it's fun that it's right there.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I'd love to
set
see
up
that.
on the hill.
Katie,
Yeah.
what did you say it's near?
It's on Buena Vista, and it's between Avalon and Old Woman Springs. And if you're driving from our house, which is on the Mesa, and you turn right on Buena Vista headed toward Yucca Valley, it's on your right. And it's a long, slopey, it says the Rock House in the front.
I know where it
You
is.
do? Yeah.
I just never.
Yeah.
I went to an estate sale there.
Did you? Yeah. Did you get to go inside?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's neat, right? It's really cool. And the thing that sticks in my mind is we had just moved here, and it sold after that estate sale, and it sold for $800,000, and everyone freaked out because that was the most that a house had sold for up in that area. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a beautiful house.
I'd love to see it. And of course we have Salvation Mountain. This just really moves me that this guy spent his whole life, if you don't know the story, he had an awakening, and he said it's very simple. All you have to do is love God, love Jesus. And he went to a couple churches and said, you know, you don't need all this. All you need to do is love God. And they're like, oh no. No, don't interrupt our business here.
Yeah, it's gonna make money that way.
So he came out here to spread that word, and he spent all his life living in that horrible climate, trading this in his car. Sometimes 110, he's just living in his car and creating this.
He was interviewed for Huell Hauser. Did you ever see that
Yes.
interview?
Yeah.
He was just seemed such a loving and kind and wonderful person.
Yep, God inspired.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, so it's a lifelong creative inquiry, whether I was walking the Venice Boardwalk, writing about conscious relationships, or mapping the spiritual underground of Los Angeles, the through line has been the same. How do we wake up? How do we challenge the scripts we've been handed? How do we create something more alive than that?
Fantastic.
And I'll just leave you with this great quote from Gail Shee. If every day is an awakening, you will never grow old. You will just keep growing.
Wonderful. I'm going to open up the room to questions for Catherine. Is there anyone who'd like to ask her about her work? Yes.
Sorry, in the beginning, when did the art start?
It was 79 and 80.
Yeah.
Catherine, can you talk about how the arts and being a performance artist has kind of informed the work that you have been doing since?
I guess I'm kind of performing now. I think there was that sense of feminism stayed really strong. That sense of DIY, if you've got something to say, go ahead and say it. I think that sense of you can live your life creatively. You don't have to go to art school necessarily to be able to live creatively. And I think that.
So, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jen.
What about, how did therapy become part of your life and career?
Well, I had been, as many people, I had a difficult childhood, so I didn't really have a choice. I had to be in therapy. And I think I sat in the chair so long, I just decided I kind of like this process. But also, my undergraduate degree was in English literature, so I had to get a job. Because I waited tables for 12 years. It's like, I gotta do something else. So being in therapy so long, I was very interested in what's the depth of people, how do we change, how do we grow, how do we wake up, how do we confront the programming that we got in our childhood and say, no, that's not the reality I want to live. So I think it's still part of the same process of discarding the cultural, familial trances that we were given and saying, no, that's not my reality.
There was a question here? Yes.
Yeah, I wondered, you kind of just touched on it, but who was your inspiration in the beginning? Were you reading somebody, or was there a school of thought that was starting to open your eyes to?
For the art tarts or just in general?
Yeah, well, it all seems kind of connected.
Yeah, well, I was always a bookworm. I was always just a voracious reader. My mother used to say, Kathy, stop reading and get outside and play. I don't want to, Mom. So I think a big influence was the feminist writers at the time. Osho, the spiritual teacher, the Tantra master. A lot of women artists that I would read about. Patti Smith was huge. Patti Smith was like, you don't have to be pretty and you don't have to be conventional. You can just put it out there. And and you can be tough. That was very, and then Chrissie Hynde came along in The Pretenders. It was the same thing. It's like, oh, I want to wear a red leather jacket and have cool rock and roll boys behind me.
Who doesn't?
Exactly.
Yes.
Can you talk about, in your search for sacred connection and tantric beings, how you met Greg and what that partnership has unfolded for you?
I'd love to. Greg and I met at a Tantra workshop, and we were both interested in conscious relationship. We were both had a different idea about sexuality. We were both looking for a monogamous relationship, which a lot of people in the Tantra community aren't necessarily. And Greg said to me early on, I want to talk about everything. I said, what? Isn't that usually, I had a sort of an idea that's what women do or something. And that's really been our relationship, is we really, if there's something out, we stop everything and talk about it right then. So that there's always this clear channel going between us. And I never had that before. I've been married twice before. And both of us felt like before we met, we really hadn't known how to do relationships. I had a long, terrible resume of relationships. I didn't get it at all. And we created something which I talk about in my books, how we do that by talking everything through, by making sure it's not just not going to bed angry, which is great advice. It's just don't even go to the next minute if there's something out between you. Did you want to say something about that?
I think you did very well. No, I think we said that recently. You said don't go to bed angry. I don't know that we've ever been angry at each other, and we've never gone to bed without something resolved. And people don't believe it sometimes when I say there's currently no resentment, because I tell clients this, right now there is no resentment between Catherine and I. Because if there's anything out, we feel it, we stop, and we discuss it. We have a particular way of discussing it that lets us talk it through. That might be difficult, but we get through it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yes.
I want to just acknowledge how your life is an example of your philosophy. And not a lot of people embody what they preach. So,
Thank you.
And also, I learned a lot because my idea of performance art was someone on stage that was doing like their own sculpture or show or something. So I didn't realize it was on the street performance.
Well, a lot of it has been in galleries and presented in that way, and that's probably the
Later development.
what was going on at the time as well.
Oh.
But there was also this idea of the democratizing of art, that you can just do it yourself. You don't have to have the approval of the gallery owner. So a lot of people were in the gallery system and doing the more well-known work. But we took that seriously of like, we don't have to be anybody. We can just be ourselves. We can go out and confront the world.
Can you say a little bit more about the beginnings of Tantra?
The beginnings?
Yeah. And how it is, as you said, a lot of people think it's confusing with the Kama Sutra, and just a lot of, there are even books that are talking about how to improve your sexual performance.
Well, since everything's sacred in Tantra, all that stuff's okay with us. But it started as, this is very doctoral program stuff. It started as, the idea is that there was worship of the goddess in the whole world. And the patriarchy started changing that. And some of the remnants were left in this pro-woman religion of Tantra. And that has persisted through the ages. It's always been a secret cult because, for many parts of our human history, if you were pro-sex or a woman of power, you were murdered, basically, tortured. So the tantric sects were always considered bad, negative, and had to be secret. And the flowering now is different than what it used to be, but it was always this remnant of the goddess religion where women were the teachers, women's bodies were worshipped, sexuality was worshipped. All this was made by the patriarchal religions. All this was made sinful. Women's bodies, women were the cause of all suffering, So Tantra has always said that's not our worldview.
So it was, I didn't realize it was a religion, and it started in India, and where?
Started in India. There was a tantric type religion in China called Taoism, and they also had some sexual practices. They had more of the rituals. There were tantric type outcroppings in many different cultures. But the main lineage that's most well known that's still going on is in India.
Where in India did it start?
Well, it started in Kashmir. Mm-hmm.
First of all, thank you for inspiring me to finish my 2 book projects. That
Yes!
Yes! So much that ties in, but just a little thing, but back when you had those little cards, there was your martial artist with a stick. Is that something that was an influence or something you did, or one of your girls?
I was going to ask you what those sticks are called.
Show. So
What?
It looked like an Aikido person.
Yeah, okay,
So
probably
but
was.
that wasn't in the background of any of you.
No, but we admired it.
Okay.
Thought it was super cool, which we still think.
Just curious.
Phil, speak up, honey.
No, I'm talking Kung Fu.
Any other questions for Catherine? I've been sitting here thinking that we should ask you to do a workshop here at HDA.
I'd love to. On what?
I don't know. We should figure that out. What do we need? I think it would be really helpful for us to think about something like that, where we could invite people to come and work on whatever comes to mind. We'll have to think about that as a membership, what we would like to have Catherine come and
Would
work
love
with
to.
us on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so moved that you guys came out. I, of course, imagined that my husband would be here and that would be it. So. Thank you so much.
A deeply felt thank you to Catherine Auman for bringing her fascinating story to the HDA tonight, and for her deep insight into the spiritual nature of our beautiful universe.